This is Nithya Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 1005. We are joined by a really special guest today. His name is James Clark. He's a former pro basketball player. Now he's a NBA trainer. He works with a lot of great athletes out there, basketball-wise. He coached Division One. He was an Orlando Magic intern too, so he's all over the place. And now he's actually, speaking of Orlando, he's in Orlando right now, getting ready for the pre-draft workouts. And man, James, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, on all these podcast platforms. And fans, as you know, you can join in, ask questions on the Spreaker app to James Clark today. So James, like I said, thank you again. And your resume speaks for itself. You're doing great things with these athletes, and it's amazing to see coaches like you guys during the off season to help these athletes get better at their game.
That was a great introduction. I'm excited to be on today, and I've been pretty fortunate, man. I've done a good job. I've been blessed to work with some really good basketball players, men and women. Mm-hmm. To me, they're just ball players. It's not really I just define what I do by who can ball and who can't. So I've been pretty fortunate, man.
Yeah. So let's before we get to your career and journey, let's tell our fans. Let's talk about what's it been like working with Tasha Cloud here from the Washington Mystics. This woman is a flat out star, in my opinion, in the WNBA. Yeah. I already posted about a video about what you posted, and Washington Mystics fans should be excited for this team. And what's it been like working with her right now so far?
Tasha's like family now. We started our journey, and I think we really, really hit strides during the pandemic year when she took the year off out of the WNBA bubble. She took a year off, and Natasha. One thing that I've noticed and learned about her that I absolutely love is her dedication to her community. It's not just about on the court with her. Everything is about trying to make this world a better place, especially for the youth. And I have an 11-year-old daughter who absolutely adores Natasha. That her voice and on the platform that she's on right now is being heard, very loud and clear. Mm-hmm. And she's just amazing. But to talk about her on the court, man, she's a beast. Mm-hmm. I remember watching her when she was in high school at O'Hara High School in Springfield, Pennsylvania. Going to Maryland, then going to St. Joe's, and I had to deal with her when I was coaching at Drexel. And just a beast that she is, and to have the opportunity to work with her almost every day is a blessing for me. I mean, she's put in a lot of good work the last 2 years. Last year was railroaded by a little bit of injuries in the beginning of the season, and that kind of hurt the Mystics a little bit. But she kind of hit her stride, and then she played in the AU, the Athletes Unlimited basketball league they just had for about 6 weeks, and her work speaks for itself right now. So if I'm a Mystics fan, man, with Deladon coming back, with Alicia Clark coming back, is it Alyssa Clark? I think it's Alyssa Clark. Man, and the draft pick they just got, the young lady from I want to say Mississippi State, or is it Mississippi? Old Miss. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my gosh, sheesh. Yeah, but Tasha's on a mission, so I'm excited to watch them play this year.
Yeah, and I feel like she brings that swag to the game. She's all about swagger, in my opinion.
And her swag is so good, man. It's ridiculous, man. She wakes up with that swag too, bro. I mean, it just pours out of her in the morning. She's like. Uh-oh. Yep, we're back. Yep, now we're back. We're good. We had a little minor infraction, but we're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Yeah. So now let's get into when did you get involved around the game of basketball, especially being a former player and also coach, and what got into you in basketball? What got you interested?
I mean, I played basketball since I was 12 years old competitively. It wasn't my first love, contrary to popular belief. Baseball was, and I grew up in San Francisco, California, and my mother stopped me from playing baseball, but she didn't stop me from playing basketball. And one thing led to another, and it took off. I was fortunate enough to, be in the right place at the right time, so to speak. One of my best friends is Coach Phil Haney of the Los Angeles Lakers, 3-time NBA champ. He's pretty much been my best friend and mentor, and helped me, catapult my career when it comes to this pre-draft work. And that's pretty much where I got started. When I got done, being in Australia, I came home and was fortunate enough to be a video intern with the Orlando Magic. That turned into an internship with formerly of the Orlando Miracle, which is now the Connecticut Sun.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into women's basketball pretty much. And, moved to Philadelphia, got a job at Drexel University. From Drexel, I went to Wagner. From Wagner, I went to Georgetown. And then I decided to just, go my own path and get back into what I love to do most. And that's, being on the court, training players and getting them, better, helping them develop their game. And, I've been pretty fortunate with that.
Wow. Yeah, speaking of Phil Handy, in my opinion, one of the best assistant coaches in the NBA. He deserves a head coaching job at some point down the line. And obviously, yeah, we have tons of respect for him, man. This guy, obviously being with LeBron and the Lakers, and so what has he meant to you yourself, about especially being you're a former coach yourself and also being a player, and just to have the one particular guy who brings that winning mentality, who won 3 championships. What does that mean to you as a coach too?
I mean, it's everything. We go back since I was 8 years, 30 years of friendship right there. 30 years of following him and trying to emulate what he does and learning from him. There have been times where I've been in the gym with him and Kyrie, watching him and Kyrie go to work. Mm-hmm. There's times where I've been in the gym with him and Kevin Love, or him and Kawhi Leonard. I was watching how he used his ability from being a player development coach to winning 3 championships. I was there in Cleveland when he got us, when he was going through that series with the Warriors. It was tough for us because we both from the Bay and grew up watching the Warriors, and Phil actually played for the Warriors for a brief second. So it was tough. I was torn. It was like it was like I'm winning with the Warriors, or I'm winning with Phil, but I was winning regardless. I wasn't taking no L's, so I was winning regardless. But I mean, having his mentorship, having his being my best friend, and being there for me is probably one of the best things I can have. On my side is in my career, and Phil is world renowned. And without his help and his tutelage, I don't know if I'd still be in this game or be as good as I am at this game. So, that's where it meant for me.
Well, yeah. So we are live with basketball trainer James Clark. We already have a fan question for you. One of our fans wanted to know what was it like being a pro basketball player, and what did you learn as a player growing up?
I never really thought I was going to be one, honestly. And again, if it wasn't for Phil, I probably wouldn't have been. He was already playing in Australia, and I had the opportunity to go out there with him, and one thing led to another. I'm in tryouts and made a little team out there. But one thing I learned was the pace. At any pro level you're playing in, the pace is different. You have to learn how to change your speeds. And you hear a lot of player development coaches, or even coaches nowadays, talking about change your speeds. As you see, people used to think that the NBA game is too slow. I'm like, it's not too slow. I mean, it's very fast paced, but these people are moving at a different speed than most other people are. Wow. College basketball is up and down, up and down. Here it's slowing down. There's particulars. There's intricacies. There's angles. There's all kinds of. But the pace is, you have to learn how to have a pace. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that kids coming out of college have to deal with being a pro, is learning how to have a pace.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I want to ask you about your company, Full Court Solutions, and obviously you're the founder and the owner of that program. And how did that come about? And how grateful are you to have that Full Court Solutions with you?
It came about. I kind of lost the love for coaching for a little while. And it was Phil and my big brother, guy named Roger Taylor, who played for Rick Pitino at Boston University way back in the day.
Wow.
He was a big mentor of mine, and Roger said, Roger and Phil both told me to go back into developing players. So I started out young, and I didn't really have a name, and Roger said, hey, what about full court solutions? You're working on full court, and you obviously got the solution to making players better. So full court solutions became FCS, and I haven't really used it as much as I like to, but it's still there. It's still an organization. It's an LLC. It's just me, so I haven't hired anybody. But I mean, it was, that brought me back the love of the game, my man. So if I didn't had started that, I probably would have been somebody's staff, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be my own boss a little bit.
Yeah. Another fan question. They want to know what's the scouting report on James Clark as a player.
so somebody must be. So it has to be one of my friends must be out here asking. James Clark as a player was. Have you ever watched like Rip Hamilton?
Yeah.
Rip Hamilton or Reggie Miller. I was always running around. I was always coming off screens. I just couldn't shoot as good as those guys did. So, but I mean, that was my forte, man. I was fortunate enough to, watch and learn the game from really good coaches. Trust me, I had a variety of different coaches growing up, but one guy in particular, a guy named Eric Block, played in the NBA back in the day in the 70s, and he kind of taught me the ins and outs and moved me off the ball. Instead of being a point guard, he moved me to a two guard, and that made me learn how to facilitate a little bit more, learn how to read my defenders. And I think that was probably the biggest thing I had to learn. But I was a slasher. I couldn't dunk, played under the rim. So that was my game, man. Mid-range jump shots and hopefully finishing at the basket.
Wow. Yeah, so for you, I want to ask you about your coaching career with Drexel University, a great program for basketball.
Yeah.
Obviously, you coach the women's side too. And what was it like coaching Division I and coaching these talented players with Drexel University?
Man, honestly, that was probably the highlight of my life, man. One of them, I don't know if people get mad at me saying that, but it was just that really, really taught me basketball when it came down to set plays and reading the defense and learning how to get open and curls. I knew how to do that as a player, but now I had to deal with that with trying to illustrate that and mentor somebody else, try to get them to understand the vision that my head coach, Denise Dillon, who's now at Villanova University.
Yeah.
She helped me out a lot, man. Watching her coach and watching how she prepared for games, prepared for practice. I mean, that was probably one of the best experiences of my life, man, was coaching there for almost 7 years.
Yeah. So speaking of, tell our fans if some people don't know about Drexel, but what was the atmosphere there like with the fans and obviously playing high intensity games every time, and how was the recruiting like for you guys?
Yeah, the CAA, man, that's a big conference. The Colonial Athletic Association, that's a huge conference, man. And coaching, anytime you're coaching, what I learned is coming from California to Philadelphia is a great, great basketball city, man. And having a Big Five schools, even though Drexel's not really associated in the Big Five, we used to call it the City Six. But playing in those atmospheres games, those type of games, Drexel, our athletic program really, back us. And at that time, Bruiser Flint was the head men's coach, and he supported our team, and the boys team came out, and it was awesome, being out there and, playing against really good coaches in the CAA at the time, like Kenny Brooks, Sean O'Regan was the assistant coach, Tina Martin, who's at Delaware when they had Elena Della. So, it was awesome. We were in there, during that time that we were there at Drexel. So I really enjoyed our time there.
Yeah. So speaking of Drexel, we also work for Jersey Sporting News. So I had the opportunity to cover
Yeah.
Seton Hall and Drexel women's NIT when they were in the NIT tournament this year, and Drexel was playing Seton Hall, and we got the close glimpse of the team. They have a lot of great young talented players on that team, and even though they lost, but they still have a bright future. And what do you like about Drexel's future now with going into the
Oh man, shoot, Amy's a great coach. I worked with her for almost 7 years. I got to pick her brain on bus rides. We got to pick her. I watched her do workouts. She watched me do workouts, and she was a former, Big Five Hall of Famer. Going to St. Joe's. Watching her work and now having the opportunity to be a head coach, man, it's great. I think Amy's a tremendous coach. Drexel's going to be on the rise. She would have had a couple players that I trained from high school go to Drexel now and play, and it's fun to watch. Like I said, I think they went to the NCAA tournament. So that was the second time we went to the NCAA tournament at Drexel. And, I think, like I said, Amy's got a great staff there, with Stacy, Laura Kurz, who played in the WNBA. One of my former clients was at Villanova. Now she's at Drexel. So, they got a great staff there, and they're just only going to get better,
Wow. Yeah, so we have another fan question for you. They want to know some of your best moments as a player and coach.
My best moment was getting an opportunity to play against San Francisco State, and both my parents were at the game, which was, for me, that was a rarity, seeing both my parents at a basketball game. So, I didn't really shoot the ball that great, but it was a great game for us. We almost stuck that one out. As a coach, shoot, I live vicariously through everybody I work out, man. So anybody, whatever they succeed in, I'm happy about. A kid named Franz Massenet played at Drexel. He's going into his 10th year. It's his 10th year playing professional basketball. Working with him every summer. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's why I love what I do. Because seeing a guy like Franz, he should be playing in the NBA. He's that good, but he's made a career of himself over in Europe, and I'm happy and proud of him. Beyond proud. Being able to work with a DeJounte Murray for 2 months. Now DeJounte's an all-star, seeing his dreams come true. Robert Williams at Boston, going through the pre-draft process with him. And then, here he is, almost he could be winner of the most improved for this year. I know he's got to be a candidate, because the guy's definitely improved. He re-upped, signed a $54 million contract extension. All those things like that make what I do even better. Seeing those guys perform on the floor, on the court, like a Kalia Copper, another Philly native, seeing, she worked out with Tasha and I last summer, and seeing her win the WNBA championship, getting the MVP, then going over to Europe and then winning the EuroLeague Women's Most Valuable Player award. Come on, but I'm very happy, and I live vicariously through all the people I train, man. So that's the beauty of what I do.
Yeah, that's another great player, Kalia Cooper.
Yeah.
And it shows that how hard you work with them, and you're part of their career too. By the way, it's like being like wherever they go, you go, because you were part of it, and you trained them to be great athletes. And for example, like DeJounte Murray and Robert Williams. Robert Williams is injured right now, but he should be back pretty soon in the playoffs, like either against the Nets or if they advance. But what's it like seeing Robert Williams being with a great franchise in Boston, and being with Ime Udoka, and then now you have DeJounte Murray being with Greg Popovich, a great coach.
I'm pretty fortunate that I got two players on San Antonio that I were in my pre-draft with Keldon Johnson as well, and I think the Spurs did it right, and kudos to Greg Pop and his staff. These guys were first round picks, but they spent some time in the G League, learned the game, and then they were called up, and when they called up and the number was called, they came out there and they performed. And DeJounte's, he was already great, and he was already such a his work ethic was second to none that I've worked with. Same with Keldon. Keldon was a little bit younger than DeJounte, but DeJounte was definitely laser focused when I got to see him and when I spent time with him and to see him become an all-star this year. I can remember sitting in his hotel, or his condo that he had for 2.5 months when we worked out in Cleveland and, talking about all the things that he wanted to become in the NBA. And now that stuff came true. Same with Keldon, when, Keldon was an unbelievable player at Kentucky for 1 year and then, slipped in the draft and went to the Spurs. If you're going to slip in the draft, and go to the Spurs, that's a win. That's a win for you, man. That's a win. And he's winning, He was an Olympian this year. He won a gold medal with the Olympic team. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Robert, man. Robert's definitely, I can't say that I've I've been a small part in these guys' journey. I'm not. I can't take credit for all that they've learned right now. But the small time that we were together, I tried to illustrate what life was going to be like in the NBA. And 4 years later, Rob his vision, his focus has finally clicked in, and what an unbelievable talent this guy had. I think he was either first or second in shot blocks this year, and. Mm-hmm. And, it's so unfortunate that he got injured at the wrong time. But when he gets back and if the Celtics can sustain and beat Brooklyn, if they get Robert back, that's going to be and make the Celtics an even more, powerful team in the second round. So, Robert, I'm really happy for Robert right now, man.
Hey,
so, yeah, I'm really.
We'll get to the NBA playoffs later, man. I have a lot to say. Yeah. But I want to ask you. Yeah, but I want to ask you about your intern with the Orlando Magic and how did that come about, and how excited were you when you got the opportunity working with the Orlando Magic?
Man, it's crazy how you talk about that, and me being in Orlando right now, it's kind of come full circle. Yeah. And it's crazy. Again, Roger helped me out. Roger grew up Roger Taylor, my mentor, grew up in New York and was good friends with Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin made a phone call to the Magic organization for me. And, a few weeks later, I'm flying across country to stay in Orlando. And Doc Rivers was the head coach there. This was the Tracy McGrady days. So, Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill had just signed, even though he had the messed up ankle and didn't really play for Orlando like they wanted him to, and a young Mike Miller coming after his rookie of the year performance. So I was pretty fortunate, and being here in Orlando, prior to, if you know anything about video coordinator, everything right now is done off of video, off the computer. At that time, we had to do things from deck to deck, tape to tape, stop, pause. Oh, the game's on, can't miss a minute. Had to cut it up the film that way so it was it taught me a lot about basketball, put it like that. I learned a lot, watching Doc, watching Johnny Davis, watching those guys coach the Orlando Magic, getting into practice. And then fortunate enough to go on to the women's side and D Brown,
Yes. Yeah.
D Brown, D Brown was the head coach, and watching D Brown and a guy named Vaughn Reed. Shout out to Vaughn Reed. Vaughn Reed's he's been the associate head coach at Syracuse University women's basketball team. And Vaughn was very instrumental in developing me as a basketball mind, man. And watching film, nothing like watching film. Film don't lie. The video does not lie. So being able to learn how to cut up film and then implement that in the workouts. And then one of the guys who really one of my first clients really is a guy named Chucky Atkins. Another Orlando great, went to South Florida, played with the Detroit Pistons, and shout out to Chuck, man. And I got to spend a lot of time with him in Detroit.
Wow.
And that really opened my eyes to the NBA and developing and working out with Chuck and learning how to, train NBA players was through him. So, that's how I really got started, man. And,
wow. That's
Orlando, being back in Orlando here again, it brings back good memories, man.
Shout out to Chris Mullin for that then. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Chris Chris is a godsend. If it wasn't for him, Chris and Roger's relationship, man, that helped out a lot.
Hey, you're gonna like this. last week we had Ray for Olsen on the show.
Oh man, Skip to my
Skip
Lou, Ray. Yep.
It was an honor talking to him last week. And then 2 years ago we had Dennis Scott on the show. 3D.
Oh man, 3D, man. I used to love 3D when he played at Georgia Tech with him and Brian Oliver and my main man Kenny Anderson. I used to love me some Kenny Anderson from New York, man. Malloy High. Yep.
We also had Kenny Anderson on the show too 2 years ago.
Oh, that's Chubbs, man. I love. I grew up watching one of my favorite plays, man. When he broke down Bobby Hurley and Duke and destroyed him in that game, man. I used to love Kenny Anderson. I used to get in a lot of fights over who's better, Kenny Anderson or Bobby Hurley. But man, I used to get in a lot of fights on the West Coast.
Yeah. So for you, being with the Magic, obviously, like you said, the T-Mac, Tracy McGrady days, Grant Hill, obviously with the injury stuff, and then being around Doc Rivers must have been a treat for you. And for you, what did you like? I mean, what was your best experiences there, seeing Tracy McGrady, his craft, and Doc Rivers as a coach?
I mean, they were all young. I think that's when Doc really, really got into coaching. So, he was transitioning from being a player to a coach. So just learning the verbiage that these guys used, the language that they used, just trying to figure out, angles and spacing and all that kind of stuff. And, watching a young T-Mac, that young, energetic, I just left Toronto, I got a chip on my shoulder, I can carry an organization, T-Mac. And unfortunately, they never got out the first round of the playoffs, but they were exciting to watch for that 1 year, man. And again, a young Mike, I think Mike had gotten hurt towards the end of the season, kind of hurt them in the playoffs, trying to get to the playoffs. But it was just watching those guys, man. And, I had just got done playing myself and just learning from them and watching them and seeing how this is what I always wanted to be in, was the NBA. And here I am getting to watch these guys go to work every day. Wow. Video and, recording practices and just listening to those guys talk and all that kind of stuff. It was just, knowledge that I just can't, it's tough to share, but, it was just awesome to have.
Wow. Yeah. So we have another fan question. This is an interesting one. They want to know, what do you try and learn as a trainer from these athletes, not only on the court, but off the court, like personality wise, family wise, and what do you try and learn as a trainer? They want to know.
I think the biggest thing that I learned is their character. I like to be organic in my relationship. If a relationship forms out of our training, which it usually does, then to me, I've done my job. But I'd like to find out what type of person these people are off the court. I don't really get to hang out with them as much, but you could tell a lot by a person's character, by the way they interact with other people. And seeing, like, for example, Natasha's character is, second to none. There's nobody out there like her. The work she does in the community, all that kind of stuff. I got 2 young men, one who played at Seton Hall this past year, the other one played at Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. They're out here working out right now, and I love their character. They come in, they're hungry, they got a chip, they're ready to work. But that goes to their character. It goes to their upbringing, about their work ethic, how they go about. This is a profession now. So I think those are the main things that I like to look at, somebody's character for sure. I think everybody has a certain work ethic. It's just a matter of how much they implement it in the workouts. Everybody says they work hard, but but do they really work hard when it comes down to doing the work? If you're this much away from the sideline, or if you're touching the sideline, those are things that you like to see. So character, I'm a big guy on character, man, and seeing how these men and women perform is just wow. It's a beauty. It's fun to watch.
I want to ask you about 3 players that you worked with on the women's side: Nikesha Sales, Katie Douglas, and Shannon Pee Wee Johnson. What do you like about those players, and what do they bring to the game if people don't know about them?
And well, I mean, they were all different. Obviously, I think Nikesha Sales was probably the biggest draw, and I didn't get to work with her as much as I'd like to. She was, but when at that time when I was in the WNBA, she was hurt for Orlando Miracle, but just her presence around the team was great. Pee Wee at the time was from LSU, turned herself into an Olympian. She definitely had a chip on her shoulder. She was trying to tell everybody that she belonged in the WNBA. And Katie Douglas is still one of my favorite basketball players of all time, man, because just how she played. She was always silky smooth with the ball. She was a southpaw. She had a great basketball IQ. She knew where everybody was on the floor. She knew how to get to her spots. And, I mean, that was the biggest things, you know, working with all three of those players was just how intelligent they were to basketball. You know, most men, you know, at that time, you know, have a little machoism about them, a little bravado, and they think and they kind of hate women's basketball.
Yeah.
I don't want to go watch women's basketball. I'm not going to watch the WNBA, but at that, you know, some of the best basketball players that you're going to see play in the WNBA. You know, it's just a beautiful game to watch. You know, and you know, for me to see that up close and personal just made it even more better. It made me fall in love with basketball even more. So, you know, those three players definitely helped me out.
Yeah, the WNBA needs to get more respect for sure, and I love watching them play. And they're, like you said, a lot of great talent, young talent coming up in the league too. And obviously, this draft was loaded, so I can't wait for these young players who just got drafted to get into the league. And I forgot her name, the girl from the girl who got drafted number one. What's her name?
From Kentucky.
Yeah. She's gonna be a flat out star for Atlanta Dream. Yeah.
Atlanta's got a lot of players, man.
Yeah.
They got a lot of young teams. So does Dallas, you know. So it's the only thing the W needs now is more teams.
Yes.
They need to get more teams. They need to have more franchise. They need to expand a little bit, you know, because you know, just like the men's basketball game, women's basketball is definitely on the rise, and a lot more young women are playing it now, and a lot more young women are getting better at it. So, you know, they need to have more teams. Having 16 teams isn't enough because there's not enough jobs. And unfortunately, those jobs the women have to go play overseas when they should be playing here at home. So, you know, I hope they expand soon.
All right. So one of our fans wanted to know, are you a hard-nosed trainer?
You got to be in a workout. You got to be in a workout, you know, you got to find out, you know. I mean, if I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to be their coach. You know, I am their coach, but I'm also, I push them as hard as I can push, you know. And again, at the end of the day, if you need me to be a hard-nosed coach, then I don't know how much you love the game. You know, you should automatically come in ready to soak up whatever knowledge I'm going to give you without having to push you.
So I want to ask you, what do you try and look out for as a trainer and coach, and when you get with these players during the off season, what do you try and look for into their games, and what do you guys look to improve on with them to get ready for next season?
Well, big thing is repetition. I think, you know, when players come to me, it's all about, you know, getting them prepared for the upcoming season. It's getting them in shape, preparing them with a lot of repetition. You know, basketball, I say this all the time, it's not really a hard game. If you look at it, really, it's a lot of pick and roll sets, learning how to come off pick and rolls, looking at angles. Only so many people have isolation plays. So a lot of off the ball stuff, coming off of curls, coming off of the staggered screens, all those kind of things, lifting up the lane, you know, snaking around the pick and roll. Those are all the verbiage that I like to use and a lot of stuff that we like to work on when we're in a workout. So, you know, just get their bodies and their mind right to getting back into basketball shape and mind, you know. So I think that's what I like to work on the most.
Yeah, so obviously you're there in Orlando with the pre-draft workouts. So what are you most looking forward to working with these young athletes, getting ready for the NBA draft? And also, do you work, if you get a chance to work out with these prospects, are you gonna try and get with Ron Harper Jr., the guy from Rutgers?
Oh man, did he already declared for the draft, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the agency. So, you know, how the pre-draft works for me is I get hired by a specific agency, you know, and if the agency wants to hire me and they meet the quota, then I'll go out and work with whoever they signed signed as players. So with the specific agency that I'm working with right now, what I look for is, again, hunger, you know. I do test them. I might not say I'm a bulldog, I'm rah-rah, but you know, I'm really serious. I'm really to the point. I really like to shorten my reps. So, you know, those type of things I like to show and illustrate. And, I'm excited about what's going on at this time right now with the guys that I'm working out with, and I mean it's a great time to be in basketball. There's nothing like pre-draft, nothing like getting to hopefully work out in front of all 30 NBA teams and getting that that what's the word I want to use there. You get a rush, that big rush of oh man, it's almost like I made it moment, so type of thing. So I love that part about this job. So
who should fans be excited about for this year's draft and the players that you're specifically, trying to work with this before the draft? So which players should they be looking out for?
Man, I mean, I can only speak for the guys that I'm working with. I can hopefully hope that everybody else who's in the draft is working as hard as these young men are right now. I got about 3 more players coming in town next week. So, and one of them is from Rutgers. I won't tell you his name. It's not Ron Harper Jr. though. I'm sorry, but so it'll be fun, man. I just hope that everybody's dreams come true. I think the beauty of what I do is, and other trainers do, is we get to hopefully make dreams come true. I think everybody's journey may be different, and hopefully their journey leads them to where it's supposed to lead them to, hopefully to the NBA or to overseas, or even to the G League, and the G League to the NBA. I mean, that's their journey. I don't know where their journey is going to lead them to, but from the time that they're here with me, all I could do is go about, improving their skill set, getting them in shape, and getting them prepared for what's going to happen in NBA team workouts. So,
yeah. So I'm just curious. I just want to get your take on the college transfer portal. What are your thoughts on that for college athletes, and also players declaring early for the draft? Some people think Ron Harper Jr. is not ready, but I think he's ready. But what are your thoughts? I just want to get your thoughts on the portal and players declaring early.
Wish I had the portal when I was younger.
Yeah.
No, the only negative I have about the portal is that you got guys who could be in college for 6 or 7 years. I mean, you already got a redshirt year. Now you got a COVID year. What about these high school kids who are trying to come up and trying to get into college? Now you're hampering their development. They're coming in. I get it. If you've been to 3 or 4 different universities in 6 years, that's a lot. It's a lot of change. And the portal has its good points. I love the fact that they can transfer right away and play right away. I mean, that rule should have been implemented a long time ago instead of having to make kids sit out a year. The coaches don't have to sit out a year if they leave the school and go to another school. They get to coach right away. So, I mean, the portal has its good points and has its bad points. Obviously, if you're in the portal for a month, maybe you don't know who, maybe you shouldn't have left, So those type of things are a struggle. The second question you had about, what was it?
Players declaring early.
Yeah, declaring. I mean, if a tennis player could turn pro at 14,
yeah,
and why can't a kid want to leave school after a year, especially even in the women's game? If they feel that they're ready to go to the WNBA after their freshman year, they should have the right to. They shouldn't have to sit there for 4 years. I think they should. I think again, once the WNBA has some more teams, then they can have a G League, kind of like a league like the G League, to where women could go there right out of high school and work on their craft and work on a game. Players leaving early, you have to also remember that these people are paying these young children, these young kids, a lot of money. They're investing a lot of money in an 18-year-old. And that's where the business part comes into play. Can an 18-year-old handle the money, or can a 19-year-old handle the money? I know when I was 19, I wasn't handling no money. I'll tell you that right now. I probably would have spent it all, but that's the beauty of people like me, hopefully going in there and mentoring these young people to tell them how to invest and how to take care of their money, and hopefully get a financial advisor and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if they want to leave after their freshman year, there shouldn't be it shouldn't be held back for that. There shouldn't be no recourse ramifications from that. I mean, it's their life.
Yeah. Another fan question. They want to know what hype music do you play during the workouts for them? for the players?
If you've been in a workout with me, Tosh is big on Meek. So I normally,
Yeah.
if I'm doing any kind of running drill, Meek Mill will be played, and Meek, Dreams and Nightmares will be played. If you hear any West Coast music, that means you're going to be doing a lot of running.
Wow,
it's going to be a lot of running. So if I'm playing some some E40, some Too Short, anything like that, you're in trouble. If you hear that type of music, that means you better prepare those legs to run, because there's going to be a lot of running involved.
they were playing. Speaking of Dreams and Nightmares, Tasha was on Instagram Live. Someone was running her page. They were doing a media day, I think, for the Mystics, and she was on the round thing, and they were playing Dreams and Nightmares for her when.
Yeah, she knows that. She knows that song word for word, even like the side note songs.
Wow,
she knows that the side singing. She knows everything.
Wow, that's crazy. So I want to ask you, what do you like about the growth of coaching and training? And obviously, if you see the WNBA now with Becky Hammond going to the Aces, being a coach there, and then the NBA, you have Willie Green, first-time head coach in the playoffs with the Pelicans.
Love it.
Nash, Aduka from the Celtics. I can go down the list. So what do you like about the growth in the teams giving first-time head coaches a chance?
I love it. That means the players are buying into what these coaches are illustrating, what their plan is, what their vision is, and the coaching staff. So, I mean, if the players are buying into what the coaching staff is trying to implement, that's great. I think the youth is a good thing, and getting to play in the playoffs early and get your sea legs is huge for a lot of people. Becky Hammond going to the WNBA is great for the WNBA.
Yes,
absolutely phenomenal. Would I've loved to see Becky being a head coach in the men's in the NBA? Absolutely. But seeing her go back to the WNBA, I remember when Becky was playing with the Liberty and she would come down to Orlando. We would shoot half court shots against each other.
Wow.
She beat me a couple times. Don't say nothing. But going to the WNBA for her is uplifting. That's huge for them. That's huge. I mean, they're getting. The Aces are getting a woman who's been on the sidelines, who's been on the front of the bench for a decade almost with the Spurs. And that's huge. That's big for the women's game, and I think it's going to draw more attention to the WNBA, which it shouldn't have to have. We shouldn't have to have more attention. They should already be watching it, but unfortunately, in our society, that tends to happen with women's sports. But I mean, I love seeing New Orleans win. I'm sick to my stomach though. I'm a big Devin Booker fan. Shout out to D Book and his dad Melvin. Melvin's a good friend of mine. I'm sick that he hurt his hamstring again last night. But seeing New Orleans, perform, even though they traded my boy Mikhail Alexander Walker to Utah. Yeah. But he's still in the playoffs too. Yeah. So I love it, man. I get to see all these guys perform.
Devin Booker is out 2 to 3 weeks if they just updated today, and wishing him a speedy recovery. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Now I'm not saying now the Pelicans have a chance in the series, but the Suns are so tough. I think the Suns can still win the series, but I feel like the Pelicans now can give them a push.
Yeah, well, the Suns still got Chris Paul, man.
Yes.
And I'm not going to count Chris Paul out. He got the championship last year. I think he's got unfinished business, to get to the NBA championship again. And Mikhail Bridges, another Villanova guy, Philly guy, absolutely, balling right now. I think he's up for, most improved player of the year this year. I thought he was up for defensive player of the year as well, but they gave that to Marcus Smart. But Mikhail ain't missed a game in like 6 years. So, I mean, even in college, he hasn't missed a game. So, I mean, that's Mr. Durability right there. And, the Suns are fun to watch, I'm still rooting, a little bit for the Sixers. I know I'm from Philly, but, they broke my heart when they didn't hire me. So I don't root for them as much as I'd like, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So speaking of down, I know that you love the job you do now, but down the line, if the right opportunity comes about, would you consider being like assistant coach in the NBA or WNBA or college or whatever comes up for you, like assistant coach or even head coach too? Would you consider it?
I mean, it's got to be the right situation for sure. I mean, I would love to be able to coach the best of the best. And, being able to coach an NBA and taking my talents to the NBA, I think is awesome. I would love that, I think anybody who's worked out with me always asking, how come I'm not on the NBA team? But it ain't in the cards right now, and it's all about timing. And if the right opportunity presents itself, I would relish it and talk it over with the fam and figure out if that's the right move for me. But if it happens, I'll probably go. So,
Right. Yeah. Another fan question. They want to know what's your go-to snack.
What's my go-to snack?
Yeah.
That's got to be my kids topping in or something. They got to be asking my question. My kids have been.
No, most of them are our fans here.
Okay, I'm about to say that sounds like one of my kids calling in, man. Haley or William, shout out. My go-to snack lately, right now, man, is smoothies.
Well,
yeah, acai bowls.
Oh, nice.
But I still love me some fruit snacks. So if I'm gonna snack on anything, it'll be some fruit snacks or some gummy bears.
What's the scouting report on your kids?
William's gonna be a beast. Haley's a work in progress. Well, they're both good. They're good. They're good in their own way, and I'm not rushing any basketball on them right now. But they love to play it. So hopefully one day, you can be talking to them instead of me.
Yeah.
So that's all, and I'd love for that to happen.
Yeah, I know. We would love to have them on the show too at some point. But for you, I want to ask you about these coaching moves so far. Right? For example, if you go college, Shaheen Holloway going back to old school, Seton Hall. I love that move for them. And you got Jay Wright stepping down, and they already have a new head coach. So what are your thoughts on this college coaches movements right now?
Well, I'm happy for any college coach that gets an opportunity to take over a program. I mean, it's not easy stepping over 6 feet, or 6 inches, as they say. Stepping over into the head coach's spot. It's not easy. Shaheem has done a great job at the school he was at, and then to be able to go back to his alma mater and go to Seton Hall. I mean, that's a storybook ending. By him leaving, also gave my boy at Wagner, Bashir Mason, the opportunity to go back to a place to his hometown and coach Shaheem's old school. The Peacocks, get to coach the Peacocks, St. Peter's. So, he gets to go there, seeing Neptune step in for a legend, it's going to be tough, but I ain't going to lie. It's going to feel a lot different, being up there in Villanova, which I am a lot, and seeing, not seeing Jay walk into the office. Jay is Mr. Villanova. There's Rolly Massimino and there's Jay Wright. There's not too many other coaches that you think about besides, Villanova. I know Steve Lapis was there for a little bit, but when you think of Villanova, you're thinking of Jay Wright and Rolly Massimino, and to step into Jay's shoes is tough, man. So, shout out to Kyle Neptune. Good luck, brother. Hopefully, you keep doing what you do, man, and succeed up there at Villanova. So.
Yeah, it's a surprise. It's going to be weird not seeing Roy Williams, Coach K, and now Jay Wright.
It's an end of an era, man. Coach K, think about this. Coach K had, his final 2 losses were against North Carolina, his most hated rival. That's got to sting, man. That's got to sting. But he's also 80-something years old. It's time for him to relax, and health-wise, kicks into play, man. It's not easy. Coach is not easy on family life, on your health at times. So it's a lot of stress that's involved in college basketball because you got to deal with recruits too. So, it's different. It's different than NBA.
Yeah, not only you coach pros, but you coach the youth too. So what's it like?
Yeah.
What's it like training these young kids? And I saw a video of you coach. I'm training this 7-year-old girl, and man, what a talented player she is. And she's still young, but she's still growing. But what's it like coaching the youth now too?
I mean, it's good. I mean, like I said, the game has grown and the game is starting to expand all the way down to that level. I normally don't like to train kids under 12 years old, but I was fortunate enough to work with a couple very talented young men and women doing workouts. So, I mean, it's like anything. I tend to always use the example of, if you want to be a good pianist, you got to learn piano early, right?
Yeah.
You got to learn the keys.
Yeah.
So it's just like basketball, just like any sport. If you want to be good at it, you got to learn it early, and you got to keep doing it over and over and over and over again in order to be great. And I think, if people want to go out there and be involved in basketball at that early age, if they got the hunger for it, man, by all means, get out there and do it. Just do it, Nike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think obviously the Lakers got rid of Frank Vogel and your friend Phil Handy. I feel like he needs to get the opportunity to be a head coach. And do you think the Lakers should give him Phil Handy opportunity, or do you think they're going to look outside? Or I think they should give it to Phil Handy, man.
It's also if Phil wants that job. That's not an easy job to take care of. Easy job to manage. The roster that Frank was dealt was a little difficult to deal with, honestly, and having to deal with a lot of Russell Westbrook, LeBron. AD gets hurt early, and it was hurt throughout the season. Russ wasn't really comfortable in the flow of the games, and then LeBron gets hurt. So I mean, it was. You trade away a lot of your defensive players in the Caldwell Pope, and you send them to Washington, and so I mean, your roster is what you do, is what you deal with, and if your roster is not up to what the coaches are trying to implement, then it's a tough opportunity, it's a tough job, and the Lakers are already going to have it's already going to be a tough job for any coach, just for the simple fact that they're the Los Angeles Lakers. But do I want Phil to get a job? Absolutely. Is Phil deserving of a job? 100%. He's deserving of a job. Will he get the Lakers? If he does, I'd be happy for him. If he gets another opportunity, wherever he goes, I'm his hype man. I'm his dog. I'm his boy. So I'm gonna hype him up as much as I can because that's my brother. So I love him. So
you never know. He might bring you in as assistant coach too, wherever he goes.
As my kids would do. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
We're New York Knicks fans. We would love to have him in New York, man, as a coach.
Hey, man. Hey, my guy. Shout out, talked to him today. Johnny Bryant, man, another Bay Area native, man. He's assistant coach under Tibbs, man. JB, man. JB's a hell of a coach. So I hope the Knicks can get it going. Julius had a down year, man. It was tough for him this year. I don't know. He should have elevated a little bit more, but I'll tell you the development of OB, man. OB, and a good friend of mine works well with OB a lot. So shout out Dave, man. I gotta give you your props, man. I gotta give you your flowers for the work that you've been doing with OB. So
yeah. So real quick, a couple more things. What are your thoughts on this NBA playoff so far? Obviously, it's been crazy. For example, yesterday's Sixers game, Joel Embiid, what a player he is, man. He better win MVP. He's gonna win MVP, I think. But what are your thoughts so far on these playoffs?
They're exciting. Sixers jumped out. Unfortunately, Toronto doesn't have any. There's nobody who can really mess with Joel Embiid, but Toronto doesn't even have a player over 6'9" to mess with Embiid. So that's kind of tough. That's tough for them. That's a tough draw for Toronto. And I like Toronto. I like Nick Nurse. I love the point guard there right now. Man, I'm having a memory blank, but
Fred Van.
Yeah. Van Fleet, man, undrafted to be where he's at right now. I mean, it gives a lot of guys hope and opportunity that, hey, you could be, if Fred Van Fleet could do it, I could do it. But, he was already a hell of a talent at Wichita State. But, look at Milwaukee and Chicago. It's unfortunate injuries happen to Middleton. But, man, come on. Who doesn't love DeMar DeRozan? Who doesn't love Zach LaVine? So, those – and for that franchise again, for them to be back in the playoffs and win, you're thinking of the Bulls of the 90s. Golden State, of course, Steph coming back, obviously Jordan Poole playing, tremendous basketball, again, he worked out, with another one of our good friends out there in the Bay Area. So, shout out to Packy Turner, man, out there in Burlingame, taking care of Jordan Poole. But it's the playoffs are unreal, man. It's the best time of the year if you're a basketball enthusiast, and that's what I am. So I love it. I like March Madness, but to me, the NBA is all where it's at. The 7-game series. People getting all excited about Boston winning 2, but now, I mean, Boston did what they're supposed to do. That's win on their home court. So now, can Brooklyn and Kyrie and KD, come back and win on their home court? So it's a tug of war. It's a tug match, man. So I'm excited where the playoffs are going.
The one issue is if both teams, if one issue, Brooklyn will lose the series if the Celtics continue winning the home. So
Yeah, that's the only. Somebody's got to win on their. Somebody's got to win on the court.
Yeah.
On an opposing team's court. If not, then whoever has home court advantage, they win. That's all. That's the whole beauty of having home court.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think this goes 7 games, as people say, or
we'll find out after game 3? We'll find out after game 3. I think KD's not going to have 3 bad games, and not at home. And I give kudos to Boston, man. They're playing a tremendous defense on KD. They're bodying them and getting under him a little bit, and but they did what they're supposed to do. Now, just imagine if Brooklyn wins these 2 next games. Now they got momentum rolling.
Yeah,
now they got momentum, and they know they could have won game 1 in Boston, so they know they can win there, and that's the problem for Boston.
And also,
so
Ben Simmons coming back game 4. It's official, I think. Depending on his thing. They said that he might come back game 4, but
so we'll see.
But before we get to the last 2 things, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So tell our fans your top 5 NBA players of all time and top 5 WNBA players of all time.
Ooh. You put me on the spot, man. Yep. I'm gonna have a big guard lineup with MJ, of course, Michael Jordan. I'm gonna have Kobe Bryant in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out, rest in peace. I had the opportunity to work with Kobe at his Mamba Invitational before he passed, and it was probably one of the best experiences I ever had in my life. And it still hurts to this day, that he's gone. But Kobe's in there. I'm still going to rock with Magic Johnson. The centerpiece is going to be tough. I'm from the California, so I'm going to say, people would get mad at me for saying Bill Russell.
Bill Russell, yeah.
But Russell's my defensive player. I don't need him to play offense. I need him to play defense. So, he's got 11. He's got 11 rings. Are you kidding me? I'm not, he's from the Bay Area. Of course, I'm going to go with Bill.
Yeah.
Malone or Barkley is a toss-up for me, but I'm still going to go with, Sir Charles, even though Karl Malone probably be just as good. So that would be my starting 5.
You going Barkley over Malone? Damn.
Me, yeah, I am.
Wow.
Chuck was a beast.
Yeah.
But WNBA, wow. Just for the simple fact that I've worked with Katie, I'm gonna put her on there. Lisa Leslie, Witherspoon. She's a coach with the Pelicans now. She was a hell of a ball player. Grew up watching her. Tina Thompson had a hell of a career, and obviously Cynthia Cooper was there, and I had the opportunity to coach against Cynthia Cooper when she was at UNC Wilmington. I don't,
Tamika
Catchings is up there, but not on my squad. I already got Katie on there too, so I think I got 5. But if I don't, then still one of my favorites is Dawn Staley. I love me some Dawn Staley, man. Dawn Staley is an awesome ball player, man. The fact that she was still in the WNBA and coaching at Temple the same time,
that's crazy.
I gotta give kudos to Dawn Staley, man.
And congrats to her winning another championship this year too with San Francisco.
Always beautiful out there. Yep.
So the last 2 things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach. He's now the coach at Grambling State University, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe, and it's still horrible out there what we're seeing. So we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
I love it, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Man, thank you for your service. I mean, without you, our country would be, who knows where our country would be at if it wasn't for the hardworking men and women, giving, taking care of us. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. You got to give a lot of respect to people who are selflessness, and helping others and taking care of others and can't say a lot, can't say, much more about them because, without them, where would we be at? So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. So you've helped my family out. So I appreciate everything you guys done.
Yeah, well said there. And there it is. That wraps up episode 1005 with basketball trainer and the founder of Full Court Solutions, James Clark. Go follow him on social media formats. And man, this has been an honor. Great conversation. And would you like to plug anything to our fans where they can find you?
You can reach me on Twitter and on IG at the same at Clark J22, CLARKJ22. That's where I'm at. So, if you got any questions, hit me up. I always answer them.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you to our fans for tuning in and asking questions to James. And but thank you again. We would love to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full
anytime.
team. Yeah, and the great work there in Orlando, man. Get ready for the draft, and man, looking forward to it.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for having me, and have a great day. All right.
Thank you. You too.
All right.